Hi everybody, welcome. I'm the Unhinged Engineer, and today I want to talk about the beginning of the last project of my first class, as well as registering for my next class in episode 11 of my grad school blog. So if this is your first episode with us, welcome. But the TLDR is I'm studying computer science at Georgia Tech, part-time and remotely while I continue to work my full-time job. And so I am about 11 weeks into my first class, which is about AI techniques in robotics applications. And so we've done a lot of different projects up to this point. Let me try to ramble them off really quick. Kalman filter, particle filter, searching algorithms, PID control, and the last one is SLAM, which is what I'm working on right now. And so, honestly, this is going to be more about the SLAM content than the SLAM project, because I'm still pretty early on. But then an additional thing I want to talk about is registering for my next class, which unfortunately I'm going to have to wait a little bit to do because of like time tickets and whatnot. But yeah, that process is starting, which is exciting and stressful. So yeah, but to get into some of the SLAM stuff, I have been a little more inconsistent about schoolwork for the last couple weeks than I'd like to be, for reasons I will share with the channel pretty shortly. Now, yay! But until then, yeah, I've just been like bouncing around trying to work on different things. I'm in a hotel room right now, so I'm traveling, and I'm finally getting around to actually starting the last project, which is SLAM. So this project is due the 22nd, and I believe the final is due the 25th. I'm really just focusing on of April, by the way. It's April. I'm really just focusing on the project for now because honestly, the midterm was pretty easy. I just the degree to which we have to really understand these things to implement them in projects. The multiple choice and like fill in the blank questions we did on the midterm exam were kind of cake, right? Still, at some point, I like to finish it before the 22nd due date, so I have a little bit more time to focus on the final there. But yeah, so for this one, we're kind of doing SLAM with a drone that's flying around in a forest environment. And by the way, I should back up before I get into the project itself. SLAM stands for simultaneous localization and mapping, right? So you're in an unknown environment and you're trying to A, know where you are, and B, know what that environment is, so map it out at the same time, hence simultaneous localization and mapping. So there's lots of different algorithms for this. The one we're specifically looking at is called GraphSLAM. So it's kind of like a simple version compared to, I think there's ones called like OMSCS and other more complicated ways of doing it. But GraphSLAM is kind of like the entry point, the hello world of SLAM. And then actually, beyond that, from one of the problem sets, we had to build online SLAM, which is basically GraphSLAM, but you remove old measurements as time goes on, like remove landmarks or old positions to keep your matrix a fixed size versus just kind of like normal GraphSLAM. You're increasing the size of this matrix you use to represent things at each time steps. That obviously can get really big and cumbersome, right? But even online SLAM is a pretty simple SLAM regime. SLAM's a field in and of itself, and I've said SLAM about 18 times in this sentence. But basically, to get back to the project, we're trying to do SLAM in a forest environment where each tree is like a circle with some radius, and you don't want to bump into trees, and you're kind of looking around to, in the first part, just determine like the positions of the trees in the forest and where you are in it. But then the second one, actually find like some treasure or something and navigate through those trees without bumping into anything. And so, like I said in the beginning, I'm super early on in this project. I did go through all the lectures and then the project walkthroughs and such. I think the lectures were pretty good. I think they've kind of tapered off in quality towards the end of the class, but this is definitely better than the search project. So if you watched my last episode, the search project did not go as I'd hoped. And obviously there's lots of, a lot of it's my own fault. There were certain decisions I made that could have been done better. But I think my biggest critique on the class front is I don't think the lectures really supported what they were asking us to implement. And for the SLAM project, I think it's pretty good. I mean, I'm still working to understand it. Like, I don't feel like I have a full grasp. I just barely got through the problem set, and now I'm trying to do it in the project. It's a little bit more complicated. But I feel like they explained the concepts really well. And, even though GraphSLAM is a really basic type of algorithm, I think they explained it in a lot of good detail, and it should be enough to do pretty well on this project. Hopefully better than the way the search one went. So yeah, I like the lectures. I really like the walkthrough as well. I've tried going to like some of these walkthrough sessions and office hours with different TAs, but the TA who did this specific one really knocked it out of the park. So there was one like kind of hypothetical, math and algebra and stuff, and that was great. Contrast with other ones, other previous topics office hours, right? So that was really good. But then they also did these like project walkthroughs and really talked about what specifically we're gonna have to do for this, and that was awesome too. And so that combined with some informative edX posts, and I feel like I have my bearings, pun intended, bearings, slam. Never mind, stupid joke. Anyway, so that's the SLAM project. Still really early on. That's why I'm not really going to call this episode like the SLAM project yet. I think the next one will hopefully be like that and I'll have a lot more progress made. Well, moving on to registering for classes. So I don't know really what's going on with the program. It seems like it's growing really rapidly, and I think that's causing new students like myself to have their time tickets pushed out pretty far. And so today is April 10th that I'm recording this. I'll probably upload it in the next couple days. But my time ticket doesn't start until April 25th, right? Which is pretty long. So yeah, I mean, obviously that's just because I don't have a lot of classes done yet. I'm only partway through my first class as compared to other students who, have done more classes and therefore have less semesters left to kind of do the classes they need to take. Which, for the record, this is how my bachelor's worked, and I was very grateful towards the end of my bachelor's program that it worked that way. So I completely understand, and someday I would benefit of it. But until then, I'm kind of getting shafted. But it doesn't really matter anyway, because the main class that I wanted to take in the summer is never offered in the summer, which I just found out today. So that kind of blows. I'm in a weird position because I have this thing I've been working on over the last couple of weeks, which again I will share. If you're a loyal viewer and you've watched all my recent episodes, you're probably like dying to know what the hell this is. But I will be sharing it very soon. I promise. But anyway, I've been working on that, and so my plan was to take like a pretty easy class. Called Cyber Physical Design and Analysis. I shouldn't say easy, but just like a simple, well documented. Like lots of people have taken it, had a good experience. It didn't, rake them over the coals with like hours and hours of work. It seems fine. Much like RAIT, Robotics AI Techniques, is. Actually, maybe a little bit easier, but in any case, I wanted to take that in the summer. It's not offered in the summer, so I'm kind of debating between which one to take. I want to take an optimization course. I want to take a military wargaming simulation course for various reasons. But those are not core courses. So there's a few that are taught either through the OMSA program, which is Online Masters of Science in Analytics. I think those both are OMSA. And then there's also ones in like OMSC, which is like cybersecurity. These other online programs. And you can take classes between different programs. The only problem is in your first year you have to take at least 2 core OMSCS classes. So they have to be computer science classes. And so after RAIT I'll have 1, but I need 1 more, and I'd rather get both of them out of the way. Only problem is I have stuff going on this summer, and the remaining ones I want to take, sans that Cyber Physical Design Analysis class, are really, really hard, right? And so this is not really good timing for me, but we'll figure it out. Maybe I'll run the risk and I'll just take a non-core class this semester, get some good progress on, my degree or whatever, and then do the core one in the fall, which is not a big deal. And, with summer classes, you got to be careful because if it's crunched too much, then you get kind of screwed. But, yeah, so that's what I'm up to. I will definitely make a video dropping my next class when I actually know what that is. There will be a couple weeks that I'm actually going to be traveling, and there will be a break in between semesters, of course. So during those 2 weeks, I probably just won't post any vlogs. I'll just do my normal weekly uploads. But yeah, so that's basically everything that's been going on. Things are kind of returning to normalcy for me with school and other areas of my life, including YouTube. And so if you stuck with me this far, thank you so much for watching. And I will see you in the next episode where I will have hopefully made a lot more progress on the SLAM project.